Okay, we are on air, and I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. Yet again, this is going to be an incredible webinar because are going to be joining a very special guest this evening, as you know, with Yann Auzoux, who is here this evening. And I want to give you a little background about Yann. I know in the e-blast that went out, you heard a bit about him, but there's so much more to this young man who has really touched virtually every frontier, I would say, of tennis. As you know, he's a former Davis Cup player for Cameroon and an All-American for NCAA and JUCO. Former top 100 this evening. And as you know, the inventor of the Sweet Spotter Trainer Aid and CEO of TennisCentral.net, which is a brand new concept which we'll introduce briefly at the end. And Yad, I guess you have a 5-year winning streak with Holton Arms School, which
That's correct.
that is quite a streak, Jan. Anyway.
Actually, technically, it's twice a 5-year winning streak. I've been at Holton for 12 years, and we've been #1 for 11 years out of the 12. So we're on a 5-year winning streak, but we were on a 5-year winning streak, before. So we'll streak that to end at some point. Hopefully not this year.
Okay, well listen viewers, I want to go over just briefly the mechanics. On your right you'll see a little chat box, and if you have questions you can post them there. And if Jan hasn't covered what you're interested in hearing about, at the end of the webinar he will address any questions that are outstanding for sure. And as you know, there are 3 gifts being given out this evening, and one kind of midway through, one near the end, and in the grand finale. And these gifts are really special. 2 are for Jan's online interactive courses. One is the serving course, and another is a dynamic footwork course. Phenomenal material. And of course, there will be a Sweet Spotter giveaway gift at the very end. So listen up closely because the gifts are really going to be based on questions. Jan's going to pose a question, and the first person who answers correctly wins that gift. So Jan might stretch you a bit with his questions. I don't know. That we'll come to learn that later, right, Jan?
Absolutely.
Okay, and last thing for mechanics, as you know, what we're going to be covering this evening is also some really insightful tips about serving and dynamic footwork. So it's very comprehensive, and Jan, let's get started off the top with, if you'd give me a brief kind of background, and then we'll get into the specifics of the Sweet Spotter. What is the Sweet Spotter?
The Sweet Spotter is actually, to me, the perfect training aid. And when you think about how tennis players practice their game, most of us spend all our time in the weight room, trying to build the very muscles that help you to be, solid on the court. So you have to go and work on your shoulder to have a bigger serve. You have to work on your core to be able to, sustain all the rotational requirements on court. We do a lot of things in the gym and in the weight room that don't necessarily translate right away on court because there is no ball contact. All that is exercises that we do without the ball, without the racket. Okay. Mm-hmm. The Sweet Spotter, to me, is the perfect device because you get that physical contact with the ball, and because it's a heavy device, it trains the tennis muscles. Okay. So when you want to work on your serve, it gives you exactly the mechanics that you need to go through, to be able to deliver a serve, and it also gives you instant feedback when ball, literally right away, and I can break it down, to the most precise, changes that I can do to somebody's serve just by looking at how they hit with the Sweet Spotter. It's actually quite phenomenal. People can increase their speed by 15 to 20 miles per hour, literally in 15 to 20 minutes, just because they clean up their technique. So it's been the most incredible invention that I've ever come up with.
Now, okay, so let's digress a little bit. I'm going to assume that some of the viewers don't know exactly what a Sweet Spotter is. Okay, can
Okay.
you describe
Sure.
describe the device?
Well, the sweet spotter, first of all, just because of its name, you know that it relates to the sweet spot, okay? And the sweet spot is a softball size kind of area on your racket, okay? So think of a tennis bat, all right? Literally looks like a baseball bat, but it's a little bit thicker because it has the size of a softball circumference, okay, all the way across the hitting zone. And it's just a bat-looking device that forces you to hit in the sweet spot every single time. It's weighed, so if a normal racket is anywhere between 9.5 ounces to 11 ounces for advanced players. So the sweet spotter has 4 different weights. We have 2 for juniors, and then we have 2 for adults. The ones for adults are 11 ounces, for the one that's a little bit lighter for recreational players, and for advanced players we have one that's 13 ounces. And the concept behind that is to make sure that we always work with a heavier weight. That's not going to be too much for the arm, but that's going to be enough to be able to stronger. When you go to the gym, you obviously take heavier weights to be able to build your muscles. Kind of the same concept that we apply to tennis. And the bat, because it's a small device, forces you to really hone in on the perfect point of contact. Otherwise, you just don't hit the ball, period.
The first, Jan, the first time I saw your product, I was reminded of returning to using my old wood racket. And
All
when
right.
I picked up that wood racket, oh my gosh, then I was aware of how much my game had slipped because I couldn't do with the wood racket what I used to be able to do.
Exactly. I mean, I
So,
do wooden racket too. I started with a wooden racket, when I was 11 years old, and I remember how challenging it was, and nowadays with the technology, everybody sort of takes it for granted. You can have mediocre technique and get away with it. But the problem is, mediocre technique, you feel like you're getting away with it, but you pay in injuries. And that's the problem that a lot of players don't necessarily see. You will pay somehow, somewhere.
yeah. Listen, let's talk a little bit, and then we're going to get into how you develop the product and so forth in more details. But I know that part of the point of emphasis in the sweet spotter is you talk about developing the 5 sweet spots, not the 1 sweet spot. Can you break down for us what the 5 sweet spots are and how they relate to this product?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, basically the one sweet spot that everybody knows is the racket head sweet spot. So when people talk about the sweet spot, that's the one that they're talking about, and that's the one that manufacturers and racket companies really want you to think about the most. The problem is that only pertains to your racket. If you have bad posture, okay, you're not going to be able to hit the sweet spot every time. So there's the postural sweet spot that has more to do with your body position, okay? Then you have the contact point sweet spot, which is where you're actually going to make contact in reference to your hip, the height at which you make contact. If you make contact, way high. Even Federer doesn't like it that much. So then you have your strike zone sweet spot, which is also where do you make contact in reference to forward versus back. If you make contact too far ahead, the ball will go down. If you make contact too far back, the ball will go up. And then you have your full swing that I call the sweet track. You have a lot of beginners and intermediate players have abbreviated swings. And they have a full swing, okay? And that's also something that players have to develop to go from an abbreviated swing all the way to a full swing. So that would be your final sweet spot. It's the sweet swing, okay? So to recap, you have your racket head sweet spot is number 1. You have your postural sweet spot is number 2. Your contact point sweet spot is number 3. Your strike zone sweet spot is number 4. And your full swing sweet track is number 5. And when you get those 5 to converge is when you have a perfect swing, fully balanced, like you see the pros, able to execute time and time again.
But how does the sweet spotter actually enhance development of these 5 sweet spots?
But the sweet spotter forces you to always be balanced, okay? Because it's weighed and it naturally flows in the air. It has a very low swing weight. So when you pick it up, what you'll notice is it just naturally goes around your shoulder, which is something that most recreational players don't do. They have a very abbreviated swing. They stop usually in front of them, or they don't have a proper follow through. With the sweet spotter, I mean, it naturally goes around, all the way around your shoulder. I have college players that have tried the sweet spot that thought they had a full them before, during, and after, and you realize that they've added an additional 10 to 50 sometimes inches of follow through to their swing. That makes a huge difference in terms of power and control. Okay, so the sweet spotter naturally forces you to have a full swing. That's one. It forces you to concentrate on the point of contact, because if you don't look where you make contact, you're just going to miss the ball altogether. So usually people start to really pay attention to their hand-eye coordination. They start to look where the ball is, which is something we take for granted because rackets are so big. Sometimes we close our eyes, swing, and still get the ball in. With the sweet spotter, you can't do that because you have to make contact at your hip, which is the ideal location for the perfect swing. People start to move up and down the court. So they start to adjust their footwork because they realize, I don't want to make contact with the bat way high over my head. So they start to move up. You see what I mean? Naturally and intuitively, I don't even have to say anything. They just fix that all on their own. It's the most remarkable. What I should do is have actually you come on the court one day and just hand it to you and work with you without saying a thing. And then the final one is obviously the strike zone, not being too far and not being too far back. So when people start to work with the sweet spotter, if they make contact too early, the ball will go to the left. If they make contact too late, the ball will go to the right, and it's automatic. And when they start to hit it perfectly square, the ball goes straight. So they're able to generate, a perfect swing and a perfect strike and a perfect hit every single time they converge all those 5 sweet spots together. Once they pick up their racket, it's the most miraculous thing. They gain power, control, their posture looks great, their footwork is enhanced. When I kind of thought through this device, I didn't really realize that it was going to be that good for all those things. I just wanted it as a device for the serve. And then since then, I've realized that the science behind it is so much more multidimensional than what I envisioned at the beginning. We even have one lady, Mrs. Boynton, who's the head of physical therapy for the Maple Leafs in Canada and for the Rogers Cup. She oversees all the rehab for all the pro players during the Rogers Cup. She ordered 3 of them because she told me it's the best device to work on, rehabbing the shoulders, and it's just a natural swing and a natural flow for people to go through, and it trains the tennis muscles. That's also something I didn't know about. That came from a doctor who tried it out and thought it was the best thing ever.
So how did you come up with the idea in the first
About 15 to 20 minutes with it, and was actually shocked that I could make contact with a bat. I had never used a bat.
Yann?
Yes.
I'm going to have you start over for some reason. So if you'd start from the beginning with how you came up with the idea.
Okay.
Alrighty.
As I was saying, I coach an all-girls school. They play softball, and some of the girls are actually on the tennis team. And this one came after softball practice with a bat and was here for a tennis lesson. She left after her tennis lesson and forgot her bat at the corner. So I picked it up, and between lessons, I started to play around with it. I was serving and just kind of trying to be giddy, see if I could make contact with the bat, and I did. And it forced me to really concentrate. The next day when I woke up, my shoulder was a little sore, but not the type of soreness that hurts, the type of soreness that reminds you that you did something right, like you worked out and you prepped yourself for something big. It really got me thinking. I was like, wow, I was able to really serve very well last night, and now I feel all my tennis muscles were engaged. So I picked up that bat and actually built up the grip, to see if I could make it more, grip-like, a tennis grip-like. And I took it, and I had all my students play with it. The first thing that happened that really made me surprised is everybody wanted to hit with it. Everybody wanted to hit with it. It's almost like it had taken boredom out of practice. Everybody wanted to take a hit to see if they could make contact. And then the second thing is it was cleaning up their swings. ground strokes, serves, volleys, and I was like, wow. And there's a mother that walked by and said, Jan, you should really consider, marketing, commercialize them. And I decided, what? Why don't I just go through the process of, creating it and then bringing it to market? And that's how it came about.
And when did you have a notion that you really had a winner on your hands?
The day that I came back with my kind of, rigged bat, and I handed it to the students, I had never seen people be so excited about it. They come to practice, they're happy to play, but it's very redundant. But that bat put a smile on everybody's face, and every time that they made contact, you could see that they were so to have accomplished something that they thought was very difficult. So it's almost like that level of challenge empowered them. So when I saw that, I was like, wow. Even from the simple fact that it takes boredom out of practice, to me was good enough of a benefit, to be able to get those students of mine to be excited about challenging themselves to be better. So I tried.
Viewers, I want you to realize that this isn't a bat. It really has been fine-tuned and manicured to kind of match the tennis experience. Can you tell me how that's so, Yann?
Well, then the process of coming up with, samples and testing, different types of components to bring it to market, it's as I said, it has the full size of the universal sweet spot in a tennis racket. So that in itself already is amazing. It's balanced like a tennis racket, okay, fully balanced like a tennis racket. It has a tennis racket grip. It has the length of a tennis track device. We had to lower the price point when we came to the U.S. market because I didn't think that people were going to buy a $300 device. So we purposely left it at 200, and lowered our profit margin because we didn't think that people were going to buy a $300 device. But the process of coming up with, the right device was lengthy. It took about 8 months. I received about 13, 14 different samples with different types of material, and we basically narrowed it down to 2 of them. And I had to make a choice between 2. One was 13 ounce and one was 11. And I decided, what? I don't think I can pick one over the other because they both fit in the marketplace. So we decided to go with both of them, the 11 and then the 13. And then since then, we've added a junior one, which is 9 ounces.
And there is a difference in the price point, isn't there, between the junior and the adult model, Yann?
Correct, and that too has to do with the fact that we don't think that anyone would buy a $300 tennis bat for their kids. So we lowered the price point even more on that device, and took a big hit on our profit margin. But to me, tennis is a passion, so I want everybody to be able to experience what fluid tennis feels like. I enjoy this game because it gives me a lot of emotions. It gives me a lot of amazing feelings to be able to swing freely. And when I see students come up to me and they have injuries and they have, less than perfect techniques, it bothers me a little bit because everybody should have access to something that helps them to swing well and enjoy the game as much as I do and as much as they should.
Well, and I think you've done something really user friendly by offering a rental program through your website so that people can actually try the product.
Right. It's funny that you bring that up because we have had probably 25 requests for people who wanted to get a demo, and we send the demo and they never return the demo. Every single one of them later on tells me, can I keep the demo and just buy it at a lower price, which is fine with me. To me, it's the love of the game and sharing it, and as long as I help people get better, my day is fulfilled.
So how does that rental program work?
The rental program is very simple. All that people have to do basically is hold on just a second, okay?
Sure. No, the way I think the rental program works is you can actually have one mailed to you. I think it's approximately $50.
Correct. What we have done is you basically pay for shipping back and forth. It's $50 to rent it. You get it for 2 weeks, and we charge you $100 up front, which is refunded to you once the sweet spotter comes back to us, which is kind of our insurance, so that you don't keep the bat. It's a $200 device, and people return it. We refund them their money, and if they decide that they want a brand new sweet spotter, we just basically apply their $100 towards a new one, and they've essentially not even paid for the shipping, basically. So
So
it
who are
works.
your primary users right now, Jan? Do you have anybody famous using this?
I have a lot of famous people. As a matter of fact, I have 9 Grand Slam champions practicing with it. Unfortunately, I can't mention their name because
Oh,
endorsed players, and but I can tell you that Serena's coach has one. I can tell you that Ivanovic's coach has one. I can tell you that Liesl Huber
oh,
has 2 of them. I can tell you that I have some Grand Slam champions on the junior side that have one. And I mean, the list can go on and on and on. I just have to be very careful with how I mention their names because agents are very quick to correct you when you use those high profile.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I get. Well, I'm going to be the next person on your list. But listen, everybody, there's a check it out in your on the chat box if you guys want to. You won't be leaving the site. You'll get to see what the Sweet Spotter looks like. But what do you think are the primary problems or hurdles that the Sweet Spotter overcomes for the user?
I think the primary issue that we have faced is because it's so different than everything else that's available. Why this is good for them, even though it just makes sense. When you think about the sweet spot, I mean, the sweet spot is small. You should be practicing with something small so that you can hit it perfectly. So educating people has been difficult. We have sold actually more overseas than we have in the U.S., believe it or not. The French have latched onto it. Germany had, Tennis Magazine in Germany had a full 6-page spread for the Sweet Spotter last year, and we were on the front cover with Serena Williams. We had New Zealand. I mean, all the Europeans have really just ordered a ton. In the U.S., it's been a little slower, which is weird because baseball is really an American thing. But I guess maybe because they separate baseball and tennis, they don't see the two, being connected somehow, and maybe they don't want to take the risk, And but that's one. Educating people has been difficult. We have a tutorial that actually comes with every sweet spotter that we sell. So when someone buys one, we actually send them a special link that gives them access to 25 videos, how to use it, how to practice with it, how to take care of it. So we've really covered all the angles to make sure that people have a really fast introduction to it and a huge learning curve in a very, very little amount of time.
Wow, I mean, 25 videos that make anyone an expert in using it. If they have access to that, boy, really gets them off to the right start.
I mean, the course itself, it's 25 videos. I mean, if I were to sell that and price it out, it would probably be $50, for a course like that online. And, on top of the sweet spot, that should really be $300. So, you're looking at a package that's $350 and you get it for $200. So to me, it just sounded right, because again, it's the passion of the game and educating people so that they can experience flawless tennis.
So do you actually use it personally, and are you working on a new version, or is this the last Sweet Spotter version, or is there a new?
No. I personally use it. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, when I was working with the initial samples that I received, I practiced with it for 8 weeks. I played the Talbot Cup, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Sure.
I played #1 for the Mid-Atlantic, and I practiced for we
Uh,
about to 28.
Jan, we're
Yes,
getting
did I lose it?
we're getting a little freezing on your end, so I'm thinking you should refresh your browser. That might help.
Okay,
Um,
let's try that.
let's try that. Okay, we've lost Jan.
Are we back?
We're back, but we don't see you. We hear your voice.
Okay. Is that better?
We don't see you. I mean, you're not phasing in and out. That part's good.
Okay.
We'll get back on track here because I'm going to have Jan give his first giveaway out here. So get ready to get your answers coming in quickly. You still there, Jan?
I am. I mean, I see you just fine.
I don't see you, but you know, I think rather than trying to figure this out, I leave it to you, but we could just do audio for you.
All right, that's fine with me.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's okay.
We're sorry to miss seeing your face.
Sorry.
Well, of course, then they see me the whole time, which isn't too good. All right. Well, listen, viewers, before we move on with this, I was checking out Jan's website for the Sweet Spotter, and the list is massive for the things that this device can do for you. Everything from technique enhancer to racket head accelerator, power builder, strength developer, footwork adjuster, injury prevention, precision booster, and depth perception magnifier. I'm sure it does all those things and more. Right now, Jan is going to pose a question, and the first person who answers this correctly will get what, Jan? What was your Sweet Spotter offer?
Oh, well, they get whichever one they want, either the 11 ounce or the 13 ounce, based on the level that they're at, because it's really based on where you're at. If you're advanced versus, more of a recreational player. They will get a full Sweet Spotter, and of course they will get the 25 videos that come with it.
Okay, are you guys ready? Because Jan's going to ask a question, and Jan, give him a question that relates to your Sweet Spotter, and we'll see if they've been listening. The chat box. I'm going to put the chat box back up. Hi, Ellen. How are you? You can see him. Okay. You know what? They can see you, but I can't see you. Very good.
That's interesting.
Okay. That's great. Okay. So, Jan, go ahead with your question. We're going to give out our first gift, and we got 2 more to come later.
Okay. So when people think about the sweet spot, what is the sweet spot that they most commonly think about?
Okay. Get your chat box answer coming out here. Ellen, I'm expecting you to answer first since you're the first one up here. We're saying we can see him. You've got them stumped. You have them stumped. So you realize he's asking you what is the most conventional idea of what the sweet spot is. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the sweet spot, the primary sweet spot? Robert has said the small spot on a tennis racket. Do you like that answer, Jan?
I mean, that's good enough for me. He has the racket in there, and yes, it is the racket head sweet spot.
The racket head sweet spot. Robert, you are the winner of the sweet spotter, and I will email you later, and you can specify the size model that you want, and Jan will make sure that you get that.
Make sure you get his address so that we can ship it directly to him.
Okay, congratulations. Congratulations, Robert. Don't worry, you guys. You're going to have other great gifts coming out here. So, Yann, let's move on to our second area of topics, which is your fifthset.com online instruction site. And guys, I want to let you know that if you go to this site, fifthset.com, there is a free Art of Winning ebook, which has been written by Yann, which is basically a step-by-step roadmap for how he became a winner. So that in and of itself is worth getting. So definitely go to fifthset.com, enter your information. You'll get that Art of Winning ebook free of charge. The one thing that's really cool about Jan's website is that on the courses, if you end up signing up for other courses, you can track your progress as you're going along. And you can also, there are also interactive quizzes, so you're really getting some feedback as to how you're doing. And it's totally mobile compatible. And the videos are in high def, and it's extremely well organized and truly interactive. So it's a really great experience. I'm a tennis pro myself, so you can kind of trust that I do know a thing or two myself about online instruction, and this is exceptional online instruction. And last thing I want to say before we dive into it is that Yann also has a brand new part of his online program, which is called Unlocking Your Mental Toughness and Activating Your Strategic Acumen. And he's doing 45 minutes private Skypes .com online instruction site program.
Are you there, Lynn?
Yes, did you hear anything I've said?
Yes, I heard you give me some pretty nice compliments about my website, and then literally, I just heard your voice just now.
Okay, so can you tell me about fifthset.com, how you started and what the process is like?
You know, a couple of years ago, I have a very good friend of mine who runs Fuzzy Yellow Balls, the website, who reached out to me through a common friend, who thought that the two of us should meet. And we filmed together an online video for footwork and posted it online, and literally that video went viral overnight. We were ranked, that video was ranked top 6 sports video in the world on YouTube for literally 2 days, and we were just shocked by the demand. I mean, people were just asking for more, and that was my first introduction to online instruction. And I realized, as a tennis coach, you always want to reach as many people as you can. It's really about empowering as many players as you can, and when you work at a facility, you can only really take care of a few people at one time. So the most that I've ever had under my tutelage were about 50 players at one time. When you talk about empowering people online, you're talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, some of my videos I've had over 1 million views, so that means that probably about 200,000 people have seen it, maybe more, so you're talking about exponential reach. And when I realized that that was a possibility, me who has, a true passion about sharing my passion, it was the perfect, outlet, the perfect platform for me. So I started to study it and got together with a bunch of friends that, are IT people and, a couple of people that knew how to film. And since then, I've learned how to film myself and cut and edit videos. We decided to, put together a website where I could share some of my thoughts on how to become a better tennis player, and it's been very successful. Since then I've been voted one of the top 20 best online tennis coaches worldwide. I'm one of the faculty members on the Tennis Congress, so I'm going to Tucson to help some people to work on their game. And it's just been an incredible ride. It's given me access to a lot of players worldwide. I have people who fly from around the world to come and take lessons with me, which is still odd to me to this day that people like it so much that it would come all the way from South Africa or London or Australia to just come to take a lesson. But hey, if it empowers them, I'm all for it.
What have been some of your most extraordinary experiences with having these online teaching courses?
It's just how you touch people. You get parents who send you email telling you that their kid won their first tournament. That always touches me. Or someone who had played in pain before for years and years and years and finally acquired the right technique with footwork. That tells you that they can finally play pain-free. Some of my favorite moments are not really related to better players becoming even better than they already are. It's really just your average, person from all walks of life, that just, gets back to me and says that I've made a difference in their life. That's really what touches me. The other people, yes, is great, but you want to impact people at the core, and when you hear that, it's just very emotionally amazing.
Well, and I'm sure that people who are watching are curious as to, I mean, what is the difference between taking an online course and an on-court session? They might think, how in the world can I possibly take a lesson online?
That's a great question, and that is one of the objections that we always have to fight when people say, but you're not on court with me, how am I going to learn? Well, if you think about it, when you take a lesson with a pro, however good the pro is, that lesson ends. So in 1 hour, you might retain 20 to 25% of what that pro said. Okay? With an online tennis lesson, you can review the material time and time again. Whenever you have some free time, you can review it. You can take it with you when you're practicing with a friend. So the coach doesn't really have to be there for you to be able to continue to practice with that. So just for the fact that you're able to repeat over and over, material is great. It's mobile. You can take it with you. You can't take your coach with you unless you're, very wealthy and you can afford to have Lynn travel with you around the world. And I just find that it also gives me as an online coach the time to really express my thoughts very carefully and in a way that's organized, well enough for someone to take in. On the court, it's a lot of reaction. You do something bad, and I address it. And it's very situational. Online, it's really very well laid out. Think of it as, just reading a book, but it's something that you can actually visualize. So it's just an incredible experience. I think a combination of the two really helps people to empower themselves. We're not trying to take away all the pros from the incredible work that they do. You do need, on-court practice, but the off-court practice is just incredibly empowering because you get to review it over and over again.
I'm going to come back to some more questions about your online course, but I was looking at your outline for the first we're going to be giving away, dynamic footwork, and listen to this list, guys. Cutting down on steps, making contact, framing your shot, outside steps, open stance versus the walking step, neutral stance versus the hopping stance, tilting, the walking step, the hopping step, the pivot step, stutter steps versus cross steps, skip steps, footwork on the backhand side, the ninja step, the McEnroe step, the fadeaway, the dynamic split step, defending against lobs, power steps, footwork for returning serve, the inside man drill, and the eye drill. Did you all, in your wildest imagination, think that there were this many variations on footwork and this many things that you could work on and perfect related to footwork, which is, of course, your base for everything else that happens? Yann, what would you say are some of the most common misperceptions or myths related to any one of these categories for footwork?
I think the most common misconception is that footwork just happens. People think that you walk on the tennis court, and if you have a general idea where you want to go, then your legs will do exactly that. I teach a lot of clinics. As a matter of fact, I taught one for during the City Open, and one of the very first trick that I gave them was the directional split step. And to see their eyes open to something so simple to me, and they were just looking at it and were like, wow, I have never heard anything like this. And then they start to apply it, and then their game goes up tenfold in like 2 minutes from one tip. Was just incredible to see. So yes, people just assume that you just walk on the court and run around and things happen. But tennis is a very technical game, And the movement that you see Federer do is highly technical. They make it look very simple, and the reason why they make it look simple is because they mastered it. And everybody, around the world can learn those steps. You just have to put a little bit of work into it. There was an article that was released a couple of years ago by the Swedish coach that Federer used to have, and he, debunked the myth that Federer was born with flawless footwork. He said he had to work extremely hard on it, as a junior player, and now he's reaping the benefits. He's rarely getting injured, if ever, and he moves beautifully on the court. So it is really an art, and it's something that empowers people very quickly. If you can't get to the ball, you can't hit it. But more importantly, if you can't get to the ball and position yourself properly, then your options are limited. Instead of being aggressive, then all of a sudden you become defensive. Instead of taking the ball at your hip where you're the most powerful, all of a sudden you take it late. Now it's over your shoulder, and then your options are gone. And when you are always in an awkward position because you don't move well, that's when the risk of injuries comes in. And as we're all getting older, hip problems start to kick in, and a lot of these hip problems that you see recreational players get are related to a very simple flaw that every rec player has, which is called the hip lock. When they try to do a neutral stance, but they put their foot too far out, and then they can't pivot, and all of a sudden they put all the stress on their hip that causes injuries. So there are a lot of repercussions to not having proper footwork when you play tennis.
Well, and I think on your list you've also got, in your program, you've got tilting, which is common to recreational players. Could you tell us what that is?
Well, tilting is when you allow your upper body to essentially drop to one side. You're supposed to have a very proud posture when you play tennis. If you look at the pro player, it doesn't matter where you move them, their upper body is always up straight. So tilting is when you allow your upper body to just tilt to whatever side, whether it's forward, backward, or right and left. And that puts a lot of strain on your spine. It puts a lot of strain on your joints. And, people just cannot afford to put themselves in those, positions too often, because that's risking injuries all the time.
Okay, I asked you about two other steps on your list. I'm sure everyone wants to know what the McEnroe step is and what the ninja step is. Those are intriguing titles.
Correct. The McEnroe step, if you look at John McEnroe, he has a very particular game, very specific style. He takes a lot of balls very early, and then he hops as he hits it. When he goes to the net, it's always a very quick delivery. So the McEnroe step is something that John McEnroe has made his own. It's taking the ball early and then just moving in at the same time. And if you can just visualize him doing it, you'll understand it very quickly. The ninja step has to do with being stationary when you don't want to move. Used to use it quite a bit. It's usually on the backhand side when they jump on one leg and uncoil and then just rip a backhand in a stationary position. They just go straight up and rip the backhand in a stationary position. They look like a ninja, basically, straight up in the air.
All right. Well, listen, Yann, I think we're into our next gift here, since we talked a little bit about footwork. So we're going to Yann is going to give away one of his footwork programs to the first person who answers his question correctly. Are you guys ready? Yann, go at it.
Yes, I want them to tell me, give me 2 benefits from having flawless footwork that they can think about immediately.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any answers yet, but I'm sure they'll pop up here. 2 benefits.
Two benefits from having flawless footwork that they can see right away. If they were to play with flawless footwork today, what immediate benefits would they see in their game?
I'm not seeing any answers yet, but it could be just a delay in the chat box. And while we're waiting for those answers, Yann, can you tell me what your next goal is with online instruction?
Well, my next goal is to really take it to the next level and empower even more people by reaching more people, and also allowing more tennis pros, coaches to be able to share. They're always amazed, to see that you have so many pros that have amazing tips, but they have not figured out a way to market their tips, and they have not figured out a way to get their tips to reach the world. So my next intention is to actually allow people to have access to all this wonderful experience by essentially curating, the content that's available out there, and giving worthy pros the right platform to be able to reach the players.
So what's the name of that site going to be, Yann?
TennisCentral.net.
I'm going to repeat that, tenniscentral.net. Now, is that live yet?
It's going to go live. It's going to be a combination of a tennis app, so people will be able to download it on their iPhone and Android, as well as a web platform that people will be able to access online. And, other than just providing online tennis instruction, there are a lot of other benefits associated with it, but online instruction is going to be a big portion of it. Customized online instruction based on the skills that they enter in the site. So if you tell me you have a bad backhand, most likely you'll be getting a lot of videos on backhands that you will be able to digest.
Another revolutionary idea from Yann. Listen, Yann, we got an answer from Ellen and Rich and Robert. Okay, first one up was Ellen, and she said, get to the ball faster with a better position.
Ellen won the
Ellen, you won the footwork course. And we'll make sure you get that. I will be in touch, and Yann will definitely deliver the product. Yann, why do you think it's necessary to have the tenniscentral.net?
I think when you look at the numbers in the tennis industry, and I follow those very closely, you have 65 million tennis enthusiasts, tennis fans in the country, people that have, an interest in the game. But of those, only 5 million are frequent players, which is a very small number if you really think about it, And when I see those kind of numbers, it bothers me, because I want as many people as you see, to have access to the game and enjoy my passion. So I, put together a lot of surveys, and we've been, asking a lot of people for the last 2 years what would bring them to the game of tennis. We love tennis. We do not have to be courted, to play tennis. I always talk about it as dating. When you go and date somebody, they have a real interest in you. You don't really have to say much. You just have to invite them to go out, and they'll come. But when you deal with someone who's on the fence, who's not sure whether they want to, come and try it out, you have to really do more to bring them in. And the way that we're going to do more with Tennis Central is we're going to allow people to use tennis as a great networking tool. So people will be able to go online, and whether they sign up with Facebook or LinkedIn, they will be able to let people know what their job is. Tennis has a lot of really super high-powered people who play it. I've been around, amazing people, presidents of countries. I've been around, ministers and congressmen, senators. It always seems to bring very powerful people to the game. So I want people to use that as a way to connect. If you are in the law industry and you're looking for law job, you should be able to go online and find a tennis player who happens to be a lawyer. Maybe something great will come out of that. So we've added that element in Tennis Central so that people can play tennis. We also have, obviously, the dating aspect of it. So if someone is single and you're looking for a single person who plays tennis, then you can look at their profile and contact them because of that. We've added improvement tools. So, we ask you on the front end what your flaws are, and then we start to customize your video experience based on that, which is incredible, because it really allows people to think through what they want their tennis game to look like 3 months from now, 6 months from now, or a year from now. And we've created an algorithm that is just so remarkable that people will just be amazed by, how simple it is to improve. So all those are kind of weaved in to give them a very just personal experience, as well as a social experience, as well as a professional experience, and improve as fast as they've ever improved.
Yeah, and this sounds absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait to study and get and connect via your
Correct.
site. Who are your partners in this venture, and how well do you think this will be received by the USPTA, PTR, TIA, USTA, or I mean, what's your
Well, I'm a member of the TIA. I'm an organization member of the TIA. So I was talking to their CEO just yesterday, and I foresee everybody really enjoying the process because again, most of the tennis industry organizations are dealing with frequent players, so
yeah?
they come fighting for the same, market shares. I'm not trying to fight for those market shares. I'm trying to bring more people to the game. So it benefits everybody. It benefits the manufacturers, it benefits the coaches, it benefits the players because they have access to a larger pool of players. So I wanted this to be a win-win-win for everybody, so that everyone sees a benefit in it. The people that we have on our board are very successful. I have on my board John McEnroe's former agent. I have some vice president of IT companies, very successful senior people, that will certainly help me to kind of navigate the corporate world, in a way that is constructive and beneficial to everybody.
Fantastic. Well, listen, we're literally winding down. We've got 5 minutes left of time here. So, Jan, I wanted to just have you. We're going to give out that Serve Accelerator course. What would you pick as some of the best material that's in that course? Myths again, or least known facts
Right.
or understand.
Well, one is loss, which a lot of people struggle with. So I have a very, very simple way to fix the toss that's very powerful. So that's in the course. And I also have a couple of tricks that help people to clean up their posture. A combination of having great posture and a good toss just makes your serve incredible. I'm a 5'10" and a half and about 155 pounds, and I serve about 130 miles per hour, which is close to a mile per hour per pound of flesh. So that tells you how efficient I'm able to be with my small frame. And I've essentially distilled all the things that make my serve so lethal and cut it out into 25 videos that people can just go through and improve their serve very rapidly.
And Jan, you didn't start playing till you were 11. Is that right?
Correct. I started late. I started at 11, and I did play soccer, and I did do a lot of ping pong. So I had the hand-eye coordination and I had the legs, and ping pong obviously had me uh, you know used to hitting short angles. So when I picked up tennis, within 6 months, 7 months, I was national champion in Cameroon in the 12 and under. So I had a very fast rise to the top. By age 16, I was a Davis Cup player. By age 18, I was in the top 100 on the ITF circuit, and the list goes on.
But how were you able to do that so quickly, Jan? What do you think was some of the magic elixir for you?
You know, that's a good question. I think that soccer took care of my footwork, really gave me a great foundation. I think that, again, ping pong had me, take care of my hand-eye coordination and short angles, and I actually used to do a lot of shooting with arrows and things like that. So I was always very target-oriented. Always focused on aim and accuracy. Is a big one. Footwork is a big one in tennis. And I don't know. I mean, I was around Yannick Noah when I was young because he's just like me. He's half French and half Cameroonian. We share the same coach. So I guess somehow I was lucky to be exposed to him and have him mentor me. That was probably a big help. I do think that to be successful, you always learn from other people. So I'm not special in that regard. I was just lucky to be where I was at the time that I was there. Which is why I also want to give out that same opportunity to others, is give them an opportunity to also experience, what fast improvement can be like.
Well, and obviously your next project will do that in spades. And
Sure.
along the way, you've had the sweet spotter also assisting many, many, many people. So listen, let's come into the home stretch here with your final question to find out who's going to win this serving accelerator course.
Correct. Well, I want them to let me know who has the fastest serve on the women's tour.
All right, guys, now that's not a hard one. We should get this pretty quickly. Did you watch the U.S. Open? Answers, Jan, do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to share with us?
No, I just want to thank people for joining in. Anytime I get the chance to speak, I feel very humbled by their presence because putting your hands in a coach's hand is really trusting. And I think people make themselves vulnerable to be able to learn something. And I never take that for granted. I'm not someone who thinks that I know everything. I'm constantly learning, and it's when there is an exchange between the student and the pro, we both learn something. I learn how to empower them better, what angle to take to be able to make them better players, and in exchange, I teach them what has worked for me and how it can work for them. So my parting words are always thank you, for giving me the time to express myself and share my gift.
I can't thank you enough for agreeing to be with us this evening. I feel honored that you accepted the invitation, and you've obviously done a magnificent job. And listen, we have a lot of people answering simultaneously with answers. Will you accept the answer of Serena from Anne?
Serena has the fastest serve, but I believe that it is not Serena who has the fastest serve on the women's tour.
Okay, we got to keep going. We got Robert saying Serena. We have Rich saying Venus.
It is not Venus.
I don't think anyone's going to get this one right. All
Well,
right.
if they're fast, they can go online and just look it up on Wikipedia.
Come on, guys. We have 2 more minutes before this webinar goes off the air on its own. Somebody's got to win this serve accelerator course. It's phenomenal.
Whoever said Venus is close enough because the difference is only a mile per hour.
Okay, who is it?
Who said Venus? It's actually Sabine Lisicki.
Even I had it wrong. Okay, Anne, you are the winner. I want to see that big yay come up. Everyone's been saying yay, yay, yay. Anyway, Anne, you are the winner of that course. And listen, we're going to say a hearty good evening to everyone, and we very much appreciate your participation. And look for Yann on tenniscentral.net, sweetspottertennis.com, and fifthset.com. You got that? Those are the 3 places to find Yann. Tenniscentral.net is going to be the biggest thing happening in tennis. Tenniscentral.net. You want to get a Sweet Spotter, rent one, go to sweetspottertennis.com, and to sign on to get your free winning tennis ebook, fifthset.com. Did I get that all right, Yann? Did I make any errors here?
You were perfect, Lynn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Listen, good evening to you all, and I'll see you on the next webinar.
Wonderful.
Good night, Yann.
Good night. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.